So, you want to know what it's like to be a seasonal worker for the Conservation Corps of New Mexico here in White Sands National Park. Part of that is getting sick the final week, so please pardon how I sound, but I have just finished my job and I figured I would sit down and walk you guys through a day in my life working here at White Sands National Park. Now, because it's a national park and it's federal land and I earn an income from my content, I haven't been able to share as much as I would like to. So I'm not going to be monetizing this video in particular, just so that I can show you some behind the scenes clips of what we do here in the park, but there's still things that we did outside of the national park where visitors are allowed that are like places for researchers. That I can't share with you. I can share with you some B-roll from the researchers' documentary later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. But yeah. Also, at the end of the video, I will be giving more details as to how the job works, like the nitty-gritty details. So if you want to hear about that, stay tuned till the end. But yeah, most days would start here in the company vehicle. We would consider the commute part of our work time. So every morning at 7 a.m., we would get in the car and drive to work. And we usually wouldn't know what we were going to be doing for the day. We would just show up and be like, "What you got?" So on this day that I decided to film a few clips, we were helping to move one of the trailheads. So because of the way the dunes move, the dune was starting to eat the trailhead sign, and so we needed to move it before it completely disappeared. So with the help of the heavy machinery equipment operator guy, we were able to move all of the sand and dig new holes for the posts using an ice auger. This was a really good workout and gave me some good upper body strength this season for sure. But yeah, there's a whole process to everything that you do in White Sands because it's a very different environment than your average outdoor environment, because you're dealing with the gypsum sand and ever-changing landscape. So they're always needing help out here in White Sands, either moving the trailhead signs, or one of our other jobs is we would have to walk the trails to make sure all of the trail signs are still in place. That way that the visitors to the park don't get lost. They can just follow the brightly colored markers out into the dunes and back. And so we would have to check and make sure that those were still secure in the ground every other week. And then we would also work around the visitor center a lot, so we would be pulling weeds and picking up garbage,
taking out invasive species such as the salt cedar,
all kinds of random tasks that they needed us to do. And even if at the time it felt like it was a really small, unimportant task, it really did contribute to the overall aesthetic and vibe of the national park. Unlike a lot of conservation work where you're out in the backcountry, maybe only 5 people will see the work that you're doing. And here we might just be pulling weeds out by the visitor center, but thousands and thousands of people will see that work. So I think that's been a really cool part about this particular project. It's also just been really cool to learn more about White Sands National Park. I feel like most people, when they come here, they do the dunes drive. Maybe they get out of their car and walk up a tall dune for a photo. But really, I feel like people don't get the true experience of this park. And I have been here Monday through Thursday for 4 months. I don't even know how many hours I've spent in this national park, but I feel like I know it so well. Like, you could just place me anywhere in this valley on a clear day when I can see all the mountains around, and I could probably navigate myself back to civilization. That's how confident I am and how comfortable I am here in this valley.
The valley I'm talking about, of course, being the Tularosa Basin, which sits between the San Andreas Mountains and the Sacramento Mountains in southern New Mexico. And this basin actually formed 30 million years ago when these two mountain ranges separated. And back then, this was during the Ice Age, and so the entire Earth was colder and more wet. And so this entire basin was full of lush grasslands. And high above the basin in the mountain tops, like the Sierra Blanca Peak, were glaciers. And whenever the glaciers or any snow on these mountains would melt, it would trickle down into this basin, which formed Lake Otero. And it was these lush grasslands and the large Lake Otero that was able to support life in this basin. So there's evidence of megafauna such as mammoths, giant sloths, camels, and other large game, as well as humans being in this area as far back as 23,000 years ago. If you want to learn more about that, I highly recommend checking out the documentary Ice Age Footprints. It's free here on YouTube, and it goes way in depth about the trackways that they've found all over North America, but they include white sands in it. Eventually, the Ice Age did come to an end, but when it ended, it caused this basin's climate to change drastically from a lush, wet environment that supported tons of life to a hot, dry, arid environment. And because of Lake Otero drying up, it not only caused the megafauna to die off, but it caused all of the gypsum deposits that were underneath the lake to start to blow away, which started to form what we now know as the White Sand Dunes. The sand dunes were formed between 10,000 and 7,000 years ago, and during this time period, there's no archaeological evidence of humans even being in this area either. I mean, think about it. Who would want to live inside of a giant dust bowl? I mean, some people have, but we don't need to talk about that. And some people might ask, well, why didn't the gypsum sand just blow away? Why did it stay and get stuck in this area? And that has to do with the moisture levels below the surface. You see, even though white sands appears to be really dry and arid on the surface, just 1 foot below the surface in some areas of the dunes lies what we call a perched water table, aka a section of the water table that is much, much closer to the surface than the rest of the water table in the area. And so it was this shallow water table that allowed the dunes to hold on and stay in place instead of just blowing away. Now, that's not to say that the sand isn't still always moving around. I mean, if you go out to White Sands on a windy day, you'll see what I mean. But the water table is what helps the dunes shift and move as a unit instead of just being a giant cloud of dust all the time.
So overall, I feel like getting to learn these things about the national park that your average visitor wouldn't get to learn is what's really made this experience really valuable for me. And yeah, sure, there were the ups and downs, the disagreements between people. I mean, I'm very used to living and working on my own, and so that's always an adjustment for me when I'm doing some kind of work with other people. But overall, I'm very glad that I did it. Would I do conservation work again? Yes. Right now, no. I definitely need a break. I'm tired. My body hurts. It's definitely hard physical work, but it's really rewarding. And I love just being outside all the time. When we're not at work here at White Sands, we were camping out at Oliver Lee State Park. So we were tent camping 3 nights a week. It did get pretty cold here at the end, but September through December was pretty good weather out here in southern New Mexico. I feel like a weather reporter out here on the dunes. But it was really cool to be camping with other people. Again, I'm very used to being alone. I go car camping alone all the time. So camping in a group, I felt myself able to relax more. And there was a process to everything. You know, one person would cook dinner. There was a process to doing dishes. And it was very much like a community thing. So you were with your crew Monday morning through Thursday afternoon when you got off. And like I said, that has its ups and downs, but overall, I feel like it's really cool that you can get paid to literally go camping with cool outdoorsy people and work outside in a place like this. You know, like I would show up to work every day and just be like, we work here? So overall, I'm very grateful for my time here at White Sands. I'm very sad that it's over. I am vlogging today here while I'm here on my free time, so if you're interested, make sure to subscribe, stick around for that. That'll be the next video that comes out. And if you're interested in doing conservation work, you don't have to go through Conservation Corps New Mexico. There are conservation corps all around the United States. Just look up Conservation Legacy. I will leave the link down in the description, and you can find all the different locations across the US. Conservation Legacy is a partner with AmeriCorps, which is basically the home version of the Peace Corps of America. So the Peace Corps, people go out and work on projects to help other countries. AmeriCorps, it's where we volunteer to go help here in our own country. So they have tons of different projects. If you go to AmeriCorps' website, there's tons of different ways to get involved. And if you're interested in working in the National Park or Forest Service or BLM or one of those outdoorsy industries in the future, this is a really good way to get your foot into the door. To participate in a crew, you do have to be under the age of 26, so keep that in mind. But I think it's a really great opportunity for anybody who loves to be outside. So yeah, like I said, this video is not monetized in any way. Nobody's paying me to say any of this. This is my true raw experience here working in White Sands. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to show me with your thumbs, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Bye!